record the session?
Yes, I'm recording now.
Yeah. Do you see this? This meeting is being recorded on your screens.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of the questions I received about privacy settings. Well, Zoom takes care of these things if used properly. And I think it is very important to notify the participants that the meeting is recorded, because otherwise it will be, against people's privacy. And also we are interpreters, we charge for recording. So it is good to know that the session is recorded. Another good to know thing is when the session is recorded, you see a cloud icon and a record, something red flashing. So you must be seeing it in a bar on your, I mean, I can see it. So it gives you the idea that the meeting is recorded, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop share and I'm going to enter into a language channel. I'm entering into English channel. So everybody choose a language. I'm in English. If you don't choose a language, you may probably won't hear me or won't hear the interpreter. Do we have an interpreter now?
Şu an var aslında ama.
Who is the interpreter?
Sayın Ebru Diriker. Şu an
Ebru
atadık.
Hocam siz burada mısınız? O zaman Ebru Hocam'ın çeviri yapması gerekiyor. Dear Ebru, can you please start interpretation into Turkish?
%3,5. %3,5 eksi ve 30 milyon para çıkmış. Bir de 300 para demiş.
Herkesi mute eder misin Serhat?
%6 yaptı.
Serhat herkesi mute et. Geri ben açayım. Okay.
Evet.
O zaman do we have interpretation right now into Turkish? Ebru Hanım, can you hear me and speak in Turkish channel, please?
Ebru Hanım Çince kanalında şu an çeviri duyuluyor. Çince kanalında duyuluyor.
Okay, super. That's great. There are other colleagues who are requesting into other languages, but before we create additional channels, well, I must say that Zoom is not created for multilingual meetings. Zoom is best suited for just two languages, like English Turkish, English Portuguese, English French. But if you are planning to have multiple languages, you will see in my presentation that there are other interpreting platforms. I'm gonna list some of their names like Interprefy, Kudo, Interactio, VoiceBox. They are better suited for multilingual meetings. However, in Zoom, if our host creates several channels, like right now we have Portuguese, it will open those channels, but there will be no relay. We have professionals outside the interpreting world, like Sevan Bey. Sevan Bey, you are a conference organ. No, you are a lawyer, right? Yeah, Sevan Kılıçcan is a lawyer. He is with us, and we have, I think we have a professor of dentistry. Burak, are you here? I think you are here. And then we have professionals from different backgrounds. So when we say, yeah, Turkish is in Chinese channel. So when we're talking about relay, that means when I speak in English and Ebru is translating into Turkish, somebody takes that Turkish to Russian, for example, or I speak Turkish, Ebru takes it to English, and maybe Julio da Silva takes it to Portuguese from English, but that is not possible at Zoom. So if you like Zoom, tell your clients that no, it's not possible. But it is possible to have a briefing, a webinar in multiple languages, like the host speaks in English, and you can add up to 8 languages. but it will be one way. It won't be backwards. It will be English to 8 languages, not backwards. That is the only thing to know. Can you see my screen at the moment? I hope you do. If you can see, if you mute the original audience, you will only hear what I am talking. But I think I must share my screen. Yeah, okay. Stupid me. I'm so excited to see so many professionals. Okay. Now, okay, select your channel and mute original. This is for the audience, because if you don't mute the original, you will be listening to me and the interpreter at the same time. So welcome to Zoomers Interpreters Meetup. I hope you get nice insights from this meeting. My disclaimer, I am not affiliated with Zoom. I am a fellow interpreter like many of you, and I own Dragoman Translation. You know, we are forced to stay at home, and we must stay at home. And then all of a sudden we become remote workers. A lot of industry is stopped. So I am looking for ways to help businesses to continue their business. So, and I think Zoom is one of them. And just a few words about Dragoman. I mean, other than interpretation, we do subtitling, we do transcreation, and we help organizers, content providers to automate their translation workflow. I mean, automation means not necessarily machine translation, but we can get your content from Twitter or from a website or from emails and take it to many languages without any manual effort. 4 pillars. These are common slides in all my presentations. There are 4 pillars in video communication. You need broadband internet, and recommended connection is 10 megabits per second and above. You need a good computer. Well, I mean, you can literally join this meeting with your mobile phone. If you have Zoom app, you can do it. A lot of video apps, you know, video platforms, they have apps. So, however, it's not always practical. And sometimes the video may freeze. So good computer is an asset, and you need a functional camera. Right? Right now I'm wearing this. But for example, Sevan Bey is a lawyer, he is cool, so he doesn't need it and he won't be interpreting, but I am an interpreter. It's a habit, I wear it. Although I'm not listening to you, I could just stay like this and then talk. A clip microphone. And you need a backup plan. For example, my backup plan is Serhat. He is the host now, although I am literally the host, but I temporarily gave him the host position. So, so that if anything happens, like the electricity is cut or something wrong happens, I have a backup. So I recommend in video, you have a backup computer, a backup headset, some kind of power supply, because in person communication is not possible. So you need a backup plan, all right? And another common slide, but not everybody knows that video is larger than you think. These days, people need to overcome sense of isolation. If you are meeting, if you have remote teams, I mean, for translators, interpreters, not necessarily interpreters because we go and we do our job in hotels, but translators were working remotely already. And maybe designers also. But a lot of people did not know how to do this remotely, and they are stuck. Some people are still in denial. They say, well, this is going to be over in 2 weeks when the summer comes. Some people are optimistic. They say, no, maybe not in summer, but you know, in September things will be okay. But the reality is this is a pandemic. And pandemic means until the cure, the vaccine, or something is found, it will keep coming back. There is a virus and there is a human body. It's as simple as that. So let's face it, let's face our pain, and let's get ready to continue doing business. And video is one of the best ways to do this, because if you only call people or write to them, they won't feel the same thing. I mean, right now you are seeing my face. At least you know who you are talking to. But if you just send a cold email and try to sell something, the message won't get through. So what you can do is, I see a lot of people are Zooming these days, but Zoom is only one of them. You need a plan, and the plan is there are two modes of video, synchronous and asynchronous. By the way, Serhat, I mean, Ebru Hanım, I think, was just testing if she wants to, you know, have a break and give the floor to another colleague. I think it's a good idea because a lot of people want to try interpretation. So this is synchronous. We are doing this together. And maybe 90% of internet users think this is the only way, but it's not true. There is an asynchronous way of video communication. That is, you record your video. I mean, Instagrammers do this. YouTubers already do that. You don't need to be a YouTuber, but you may be using some other tools. For example, this is a wonderful tool I discovered from another colleague. It's Loom. I have no affiliation. It's a startup, and this wonderful tool just records your desktop with your face on it. This is my face. I have some Loom videos. So what you can do is, instead of sending a long email and trying to talk to your clients saying, oh, you know, these are bad times, but we should continue doing business, you can talk to them. Make a quick presentation, just a quick presentation, and then talk to people. I mean, for example, this one I did, like Loom recording, you know, something 1 minute and 11 seconds. People can listen faster and can process a video message combined with a presentation much faster. So Loom is one of the tools you may want to use. And of course, there are other desktop video recording tools, but Loom is one of them, and I like it very much. You can also upload your videos to Loom Cloud, and it is indexed by Google. So Google indexing is very important. But then this is not the only thing. I mean,
Tabii tek olay bu değil.
especially these days, people are asking the
Özellikle de
interpreters,
bugünlerde
can you do
insanlar
interpretation via Skype? Oh, Esra, welcome.
çevirmenlerden Skype üzerinden yapmayı,
Or
çeviri
can you
yapmalarını istiyorlar.
do interpretation over a streaming and
Ya
or
da
a
çeviriyi
webcasting?
mesela
Well,
streaming
these
üzerinden
are
ya da
not preferred. Webcasting and streaming, they are bandwidth killers. You know, they will freeze. They will literally burn you. And Skype, yeah, Skype is very common. Everybody has it, but it's not designed for interpretation either. I am hearing from colleagues that a client calls and say, well, can you listen from Skype on one screen and then interpret to Zoom in another screen? Well, no. I mean, we don't do that. I mean, and the very purpose of this meeting, I invited lawyers, doctors, conference organizers, all of you. I invited all of you because I wanted to tell you how we feel, and also I also invited my interpreter colleagues. Maybe some of them will take the floor and speak on behalf of themselves and say, well, I mean, we like this and we don't like that. So these are not preferred for interpreting. So what are preferred for interpreting? Zoom, recently, this is very new. Zoom did not have multilingual functionality. It is very, very new. We used to have these like Interprefy, Kudo, Catalava, Interactio, VoiceBox. There are, I think, 20, maybe 80 more. I don't know all of them. And some of these, I think we have someone from Interprefy. I think we have James with us. If we have any representatives of any of these tools, please write in the chat. And I would like to give you the floor to better explain your tools, because I mean, I'm not here to market any of these tools. I'm here to give our industry a broader voice, have a common understanding, and maybe, you know, have networking possibilities together. So for interpreting, we prefer to use tools designed for interpreting. Zoom is only one of them, but I am focusing on Zoom because a lot of my clients are using Zoom, and Zoom may also be a go-to platform for international meetings because of its added functionalities, which I will show you in a minute. These are my contact information on LinkedIn, on email, on website. Anytime you feel free to contact me. I mean, ever since I released my first video, I think I received like several hundreds of messages from Brazil to Beijing. I mean, I didn't know I could become so popular in 46 or 48 hours. I'm so popular now, and I don't enjoy it because it's really a nightmare to answer all messages. So I prefer to organize meetings, and everybody can watch. So I'm taking you to Zoom's background, why I think Zoom is great for conference organizers. This is a meeting, okay? And I have a large meeting license, meaning I can host up to 500 people. I was expecting more people today. It's 70 now. But I could have this like a webinar as well. I can record it. And I have privacy settings and many other settings as well. And then I can divide people into rooms. There are Zoom rooms, and I can connect this with Cisco Polycom rooms, which are already installed in a lot of plazas. Maybe Sevan Bey's office already has a Polycom or Cisco if you are having international conferences, and or we have guests from other corporations. So what are the differences? If you have a webinar, that means unless you make someone a panelist, they will be just passive listeners. That's the difference of the webinar. In webinar, there are panelists and attendees. But in meetings, everyone can see each other. If you turn on your video, everyone can see each other. That's the meeting. What you can see is you can see your previous meetings. And you can create meeting templates, which is also good because you don't want to create everything from scratch, and you can use a previous template to schedule a new meeting. But this is also frequently asked. I have Zoom, but I don't see interpretation. Well, because you need a pro package. You need this package, minimum pro, and combined with a webinar. You have to buy pro and then combined with this webinar license. Without that, you won't see any interpretation. For corporations, I recommend buying a larger package. But this is for one host, meaning, well, this is a hosted event. If we had another event right now, we needed a second license. So this is one license for one meeting, not one license for user. Our license is up to 500 participants. We pay $65 a month. For only $65 a month, we can have everyday unlimited events with 500 participants. Again, it's not per user, it's per host. I am the host, I invited you, so I pay, nobody else pays. So I think it's very, very affordable, very affordable. And literally, we could, right now, I don't have that option, but if I become a host again, we could actually split this room into several rooms. Or for example, I have my video, but I could say, let's choose a virtual background, and I could let's try, yeah. I mean, it won't be, because there is sun, but it's not practical. I'm not sure if you see my funny face from the star on the planets, or the gold, or above a bridge. But this gives you actually an advertising opportunity. So if you are an event organizer, you may need advertisers somebody needs to pay for this. Oh, Sevan Bey, you are from Limak Kurumsal. I'm sorry, I thought you were from. Yeah, we know each other from Ülker, of course. Yeah. I'm sorry. I just for some reason I confused you with a friend of mine. He's a lawyer. But nice to see you, and nice to see colleagues from Ülker family. Thank you for joining us. And as a corporate communications specialist, I think you will have a lot to say. Question: is there any way to adjust the volume so that we can hear? No. In Zoom, it's not like other platforms. It is not possible. Yeah. It's not possible. I mean, you cannot adjust two voices. I mean, two voice channels. I mean, it is maybe it's possible, but maybe you have to pay something to Zoom. I mean, I haven't seen it. Or maybe you speak to a sound engineer. You know, you adjust, you know, another channel like Turkish, and then you plug in your USB sound recorder, and then in that professional recording apps, there are, you know, different ways to clean the audio. Maybe that's a possibility, but other than that, I don't see any possible way of doing this. So yeah, I mean, splitting meeting into several pieces gives another nice, you know, opportunity for meeting organizers. And then, yeah, I have to go to my account. I'm sorry. Yeah, back to my account. For those who haven't seen before, to enable interpretation, you go to settings and you go to in meeting advanced, and then you enable language interpretation. This is what you do. But then there is a lot of other video controls, virtual background. I mean, these are for professional users. So what I recommend to every event organizers to review these details, because by using them properly, you can deliver a better virtual organization. It's possible, up to 10,000 people. And today with us, we have several interpreters from different parts of the world. I mean, I know some of them in person, and they are wonderful people. I mean, in the chat, you will see their names. You can contact them, or you can contact my office. And I mean, interpreters are ready. We are at home, we are deadly bored, and we are looking for new jobs. So we only need the event organizers and the corporations to realize that it is possible remotely to organize scientific conferences, to organize webinars, debates, press releases, press conferences, product launches. You can do it. And we can help you, you know, deliver your message to greater audiences. That's the whole idea. I mean, I see Tülay, she is English, Spanish, Turkish. I see Hatice, also English, Turkish. I mean, at least not right now, I see them on the screen. I mean, there are so many colleagues with me. I've seen in the chat people speaking other languages as well. So what I want to do now is, if we have anyone from an interpreting platform like Interpretify or others, please write to the chat box and ask for the floor. I'm stopping my screen share. Yeah, Interpretify. James, can we enable James' microphone so that James may want to say a few words? James Anderson.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, James.
So you can hear me okay? That's a good start.
Yes, please give your perspective.
Okay, so I'll speak to you from, I wear several hats. I've been an interpreter for the last 25 years, so I get that side of it. I was the founder of Linguali, which some of you may be familiar of, and which is sadly
Oh,
closed.
yes.
Because
What happened to Lingoal? Is still on?
Coronavirus killed us.
Yeah, because you are on site. Yeah.
Yeah, we
But
did a BYA.
very smart idea. It was a very smart
Thank you.
idea.
It was very popular and it worked well.
Yeah,
But
it worked well.
we got a
you
got a
showed me
one.
in a conference. It worked well. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And we got 100% cancellations in the space of 5 days. $500,000 disappeared. And we're in the process of fundraising. So we just died. Literally in 1 week, the company died. And I joined Interprify a week later. Why did I join Interprify? Because I think it's a great company, and I think there's there's great future, obviously, for some remote interpreting for all interpreters.
Yeah.
Now, what Umit has been saying is absolutely right. Zoom, what Zoom do is very, very good. I would have one thing about it, and I can forward you. I'll give you or share a document with you. There are security concerns with Zoom in terms of what it can do in your computer, software it can download, stuff like that. And I've got a list of articles on that subject. So that's one thing I would just bear in mind. And I think for 99% of us, most of the time, honestly, they're not a big deal, those issues. But for corporate customers, NGOs, etc., they are a big deal. Now, why do companies like Interprify have a place and a role?
Yeah.
So as Umit was saying, one big part is obviously Relay, but that's just technical, and I don't think it would be that difficult for Zoom to integrate Relay if there was enough demand for it. For me, it's professional services. So apart from the fact that Interprify was built ground up for interpreters to use and to integrate interpretation directly into meetings, the main real difference, I would say, is that there is never an Interprify event with any interpreter that doesn't have remote support online at every moment. So to give you an example, if you are in a relay situation, and as we've all done in booths on Bosch equipment as well, you're going so fast you forget to click a button. And in a normal situation, a technician will run into the booth and just quickly do it for you. We do the same thing. So if you forget something, you forget to switch language, you forget to unmute your mic, you forget to do the right relay settings, our remote support teams who are watching all the time will in 1 second make the change. For a lot of types of events, that's a level of support and service that's not necessary. For a lot of events, it really is necessary. If you've got a few thousand people, we did an event recently with 14,000 people watching a CEO's address in 5 languages. It's a 30-minute presentation the CEO gave. You can't have a problem in a situation like that. You can't say, hang on, everybody, we're just going to reboot, restart. So I would say the type of client and the type of event, if you're doing an online meeting for 5 people and things go down for a minute, it doesn't matter. You know, everybody's together. We can say, hang on, we'll just restart quickly. Okay, we're back on. If you've got hundreds of people, or you've got delegates from around the world, or you've got VIPs, or it's serious corporate stuff, you can't afford to have that kind of problem. And I would say that really is when a platform like Interprify is the most useful, has the most value for you. To give you an example, we just finished a very big United Nations event with hundreds of speakers and or delegates and several hundred observers. And that's the sort of event you can't do it half-cocked. It's got to be perfect. And I would say really that's where I'd say when you need really high level of quality, guarantees, belt and braces, that's when you need to really be working on a dedicated platform and offering that to your customers.
Okay, well, well, thank you very much. That was very, very insightful. By the way, we just launched a quick poll, and 40% of our guests have tried remote interpreting before.
Actually, more than that, because I didn't click on yes because I was talking.
Okay, then can we launch the second poll, please? In this case, now you can click. Do we have any representative of another platform? That doesn't have to be simultaneous interpreting. We have We had a colleague from Finland. I saw the name, but maybe he missed the hour. Oh, we have Ali from qualitative research, Ali Arslan. He has been in the area of research and academia for like 40 years, although he looks younger than me. He is elder brother to all of us. Serhat, can you give the floor to Ali Bey, please? And I would like to know what he thinks about remote interpreting and different platforms.
Well, hi, nice to meet you all. My name is Ali Arslan, and I happen to be a qualitative moderator and an insight hunter in the field of qualitative market research. So I work as a freelancer for major local and international companies and research firms. Recently, I focused on medical qualitative market research. Until very recently, our research was conducted face-to-face in focus group style or in-depth. Even though the Western world has on the online platform in qualitative research much longer than we do, we Turks have. We are emotional people and we insist on conducting research, absolute one-to-one connection. But however, after this corona disaster, on the agenda, we quickly looked for ways to bring our research into an online platform. And after many online conversation platforms, I think I can say that this Zoom platform we are talking about is my first choice because it gives very successful results in terms of communication quality and the interpretation, as you have indicated. So I believe that we will continue on doing this, our research on Zoom. We had a meeting with Ipsos today at noon.
You had a meeting on Zoom?
Meeting to decide which platform we should focus on for our focus groups and how to run them. And my proposal was, one of my best proposals was Zoom. And I told them that we also have this chance of interpretation if we do international research. So that this meeting is really backed me up. Thank you for giving us this chance, this opportunity to talk.
Well, thank you, Ali Bey. Ali Bey, I have a question. Do you see any recovery in the market research area? Do you think the brands need market research, or maybe they need more than they've ever needed? What do you think? Do you want to expand on that?
In this crisis, we need more than ever. You know, most of the companies decide to cut research, but that should be the contrary. You know, we should really focus on research in this disaster times to figure out how can we find ways to market our products or services. So we have a small crisis on deciding how we can switch to online platforms, how we can adopt our strategy on online platforms. It will take about 15 days or a month. Each research company is focusing on this online now and trying to decide which to proceed.
But have you heard about tools like James mentioned? I mean, or I listed, you know, Interpretify, Kudo, ZipDX. I mean, anybody approached you? I mean, or did you have any chance to try them?
Yeah, you know, funny, but 4 or 5 years ago in LinkedIn, qualitative researchers blog, many online focus group platforms approached me, saying that why don't you do your focus group here with our platform? We have this advantage, and they gave us free trainings to use them. But we ignored it. As a matter of fact, I tried to market to our international or national clients, but they mostly preferred, of course, face-to-face, real-time conversations or research. So they did not really go for it. But now I believe it's time to reconsider.
Yeah, now we are forced, right? Yeah, we are forced.
What I'm doing today, after the meeting at noon, I just get back to those people and try to get connected and see what they have. and ask for new trainings for their specific platforms, because focus groups, as you may know, is a little bit different than just conferencing like this. Client has to be in one side, and I should talk to my client at a time where other focus group attendees cannot see him or hear him, and simultaneously we should drag some of the concepts to the screen and show them, you need some specific extra features for this type of a platform for focus groups. That's something different than just ordinary meetings like we do in Zoom. So we're searching for those platforms at the moment.
Well, today we have so many interpreters with us. We will be happy once you finish your research. Let us know, so that we can get training and then join your sessions.
And we're forcing our clients to do more one-to-one research, in-depth interviews, rather than doing it with focus groups, with 6 or 8 people, or forcing our clients to do research with 3 or 4 participants at a time, where moderation online can be much easier.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody raised hand, or anybody wants to speak now? I mean, I am not the host. I mean, you can raise your hand if you want to speak. Otherwise, I will force someone to speak. I will ask different views from different countries. From Russia or Ukraine, I think I see Maria Kabarova. Maria,
this is a question.
Who has a question?
Ian Parker.
Oh, somebody says Ali Bey'i duyamıyoruz. Ellen, okay. I mean, I think our host should give the floor. Ian Parker. Ian from United States. Mr. Host, can you give the mic to Ian? And Ali,
Hello.
can you please mute yourself?
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, yeah.
Oh, great. My question is, a lot of us interpreters are used to working with clients face-to-face.
Yeah.
Now we have been thrusted into this area where we have to suddenly work online. But the problem is we don't know how to contact the people that need interpreting. So the thing is that I was wondering if you had any tips or any ideas as to how we can get in contact with the people who need interpreting. Thank you so much for offering me the chance to ask my question.
Well, honestly, Ian, I don't know either. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I am organizing these events, because there was no demand. I mean, or poor demand. I mean, I know Interpretify and Linguali, they have been trying, or others, they have been trying so hard, trying to push the events to remote. But then, I mean, let's face it, we interpreters, we don't like it. We prefer to be in the hotel. And it's the first choice because for communication purposes, it is better, and also for practical reasons. Also, the events, it's a human need. People need to socialize, they get together. There is this coffee break effect, it's nice to chill out, networking, I would love to be in Amsterdam right now, on a boat, with nice people, drinks, chit-chatting. I mean, or in Antalya, beautiful Antalya, sunny, the sea, and then after the event, we could go for a swim. I mean, these are wonderful things, and these are very human things to have. But now, I think the first thing is, there is this depression curve. A lot of people were in denial status, including political leaders. They said nothing's going to happen. A lot of political leaders denied this epidemic, this pandemic, and we only have them to blame. Thank God I have no political ambitions, so this is the end of my political career. But I mean, the world politics really, was terrible in the past few months, and it is still, the leadership is terrible. So I think now people are accepting, smart people like Ali and others, and they say, yeah, I mean, we need to do something about it because this is not going to be over. Let's face it. I joined a recent survey just last week, And the first question was, will you go out and mingle with people when they say this virus is over? That was the first question. Will you go out and mix with people? And I said, hey, that was the, awakening moment. I said, I am not sure. I mean, will I? And the second question was, will you use public transport to go to the work? That was the second question. Then I said, oh my good Lord, okay, going out is something, but using public transport. The third question was, will you be comfortable staying in a room, a small room with more than 10 people? Another question. So I think these are the questions to be addressed by event organizers, by architects, by city planners, by a lot of people. But until then, and I think that is another year to go. I think we will have this mixed situation for another year. And until then, the best thing we can do is to do this like we do right now. I see Bilge, Duygu, Gözde, Ali, Ayan, Susan, Merve, face to face. This is interaction. And we could be doctors, medical doctors from different parts of the world. This could be a meeting. And then some of us would be interpreting. It's really very practically possible. Very practically possible. I mean, I'm organizing these events to prove that it's possible. That's the one. That's the one reason. The other thing is, I'm looking for events. James, do you want to say something? Okay, can we unmute James, please, Mr. Host? Yes, James.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, just to go off what you were saying, Umet, and my experience with which is why Linguali didn't do remote. We did on site, and we took the Paris market because, and we're in a special time now because everybody's locked at home.
Yeah.
But as Barry Olson once said to me in America, a very good point at an ATA meeting, he said, we'll have online meetings when people can have an online beer. We need to see each other. And people will go back to that because a lot of the time it's about money. It's cheaper to have an interpreter in a big city get on a bus and come to a venue than it is to set up an online platform.
Yeah.
Especially when the equipment's there and there are solutions that you can still use. So you, like Linguali did, Interprify does it as well. You can use your mobile phone as a microphone. So you can use digital, but on site. And often it's easier, faster, simpler still in certain circumstances to go on site. So there will be a change, but it's not going to disappear. It's going to be a hard time. People will adopt a remote. There'll be more remotes than there was before, but it's not going to destroy on-site interpreting. I truly don't believe it.
No, I don't believe it either. I mean, it will always be there, but I think this pandemic has proven the use cases of remote interpreting.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of colleagues reminded me the importance of microphone. I mean, right now, some of our participants, when they speak, we could not hear them properly because they weren't using a microphone designed to speak.
Yeah.
This is a microphone designed to speak. Okay. Your jogging, headphones are not designed for conferences. So, I mean, if you want to make this happen, be it a focus group or any other event, you need a conference call type of interpreting microphone. I'm using Logitech. There are other brands, and I think Barry Olson has a list of them on Interpret America's website, and also I think ZipDX website. I think they have a list of. He has a list of his recommendations.
A good high-end Logitech Sennheiser. This is a Sennheiser. It's about 180 euros. It's fantastic. It gives you sound protection, so you can't get audible shocks.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you for the perspective, James. Any one of our interpreter colleagues who had this interpretation, experience, like Tulay, I mean, have you tried remote before? What do you think? Do you want to give us your perspective? Yeah. I mean, but can we unmute Tulay? I mean, if you don't want to speak, I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Okay.
Have you tried remote before?
Yes, I have been doing this for more than 3 or 4 years.
Which platforms have you used?
I used Ziptix.
Yeah, Ziptix,
and
yeah.
VoiceBoxer. These are the two platforms that I used. And these 2 weeks, I have been also interpreting meetings on WebEx. But this is very complex thing because WebEx meetings are not designed. They are not compatible with interpreting. So what I am doing is I am listening from WebEx and I set a WhatsApp group and I call them on my WhatsApp. And this is the thing with what I'm doing because the company cannot just, leave interpreting apart. They need it. And they cannot or they don't know about these interpreting platforms. So this is a kind of a solution that we set up.
Do you think you can talk them into, ZipDX, VoiceBoxer, or Zoom, or another platform?
Yeah, I can propose it, but the thing is, it is not a decision from Turkey, but from Spain. So because in Spain nowadays it's not very, a correct moment to propose any, these ideas because they are very, very busy with other stuff. So I am waiting for some correct moment to suggest this, this change. But yeah, for the time being, it's like that. Jose would also explain it. I think we are doing the same thing. So according to, of course, I have experience with the ZipDX and VoiceBoxer, which is completely different because it is also compatible with Relay. It is really nice because you can see the presentation. And I have also worked in very long conferences, for example, from 8 to 4. It was like a normal inside conference. You have coffee break, you have lunch break, you have everything. And you can also get the presentations beforehand. It was really nice. And it is, of course, the coordination with your booth mate. It might be a little bit complicated at the beginning, but after some time you get used to it. I don't know. Overall, I really like it. I enjoy remote interpreting because I'm sick of traveling a lot. So this is also my personal, relief having this option. So yeah, that's my experience.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Tunay. Do we have any other translation agency or language services provider with us? We have Hande from United States. She is a UN accredited interpreter, graduate from Bilkent University. I know Hande, she's been doing remote interpreting in so many platforms. You are the pro, Hande. Go. What do you want to say?
Hi to everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Okay. So, first of all, I have a couple things to say. We were all not able to hear Mr. Ali, what he was saying. I think the importance of the microphone shows over here. So, and
I could hear him.
I really appreciate if you could summarize. Yeah, if you could summarize a little bit what he has told us, and so we could benefit from the things that he's saying. Well, I've been in the United States for over 15 years, and my colleague, actually my booth mate, Cansu Kaptaner from New York, she's also joining us today. And maybe she would have a couple things to say too, because we've been partnering in some. I mean, she's in New York, I'm in Boston, but we've been partnering in multiple assignments to do remote interpretation. I started doing remote interpretation for Merck, the pharma company, for maybe 6-7 years ago. I think over here, especially when it comes to Turkish, it's considered as a rare language over here. The qualified interpreters for Turkish English language pair is very little over here in the United States. And sometimes in order to avoid from the accommodation and the travel fees, companies do choose remote interpretation. And I haven't had, I've done through Interprefy, I've done through Zoom, I've done through Webcast, WebEx, and I haven't had a lot of difficulties. Just like our colleague Tulay was mentioning, it is just like a normal day. Yeah, in the beginning, sometimes you tap your microphone to say, okay, go next, or you take the floor, but the presentations are given beforehand. Even some companies, some companies like TransPerfect, they test your setup before assignment. And Johnson would remember, they give us really hard time. Your microphone would be this, your internet speed should be this. So the companies, the translation companies, they take this very seriously. And if, to answer Ian's question, where are we going to find the need for interpretation? I think that's all on the company, the translation companies itself. You have to reach out to the interpreters for this, for these assignments. And also, do I agree with James? The on-site interpretation cannot be. It's not something that can be changed for a long period of time. That's what I'm thinking. But for multilingual conferences, and also in order to avoid the accommodation and the travel fee, I actually do like remote interpretation.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I can see Tamara Radenkovic from Serbia. Hi, Tamara. Tamara owns one of the best agencies in the Balkans. Tamara, you are also a conference interpreter. Not sure if you are in the States at the moment or you are in beautiful Belgrade. Do you want to give your perspective of the Balkans? What do you think about remote? What is your experience?
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Umid. I don't think I can add much. My experience is very limited in that sense, both as a company and as a freelancer. I've only done it through Skype because that's what the client wanted. And so that's what they used as a medium. And I would go to the office where they already established the connection with the other side, and I would do chuchotage pretty much during the meeting. That was my only experience with that. We had a remote interpretation conference a while ago with a big pharmaceutical company, and that went well. That was live streaming, and that was really successful. I think 80% of the burden fell on the technicians and all of the checks that had to be made. There are things that are not related to interpreting that we as a service provider have to double check, and they would blame it on us, even though it has nothing to do with us, because the Wi-Fi needed or the connection sometimes is related to the venue, and we don't provide it ourselves. It's a third party sort of thing, and yet they hold us responsible. So I would say the technical aspect is, for me, the most difficult. I heard the gentleman that spoke before that said within 1 second they have a technician that would resolve the problem. That's pretty amazing, because in the interpretation booths, we don't get the technician to jump to help us if there's a relay problem or some of the colleagues did something. They can't override things that fast. So maybe when it's remote, it's actually faster. I don't know. I haven't had the experience. But I know that it's always stressful when you have a large number of languages and booths, and it's a remote location on top of it, because you physically can't really deal with it. But in the Balkans, I wouldn't be as bold as to say that my experience is in the Balkans. I would say sort of limited to the former Yugoslavia. And I haven't seen a demand for it, except for that big pharmaceutical company, and that was part of their maybe even global communication program. We haven't had the need. So that's that business-wise. Personally, just like you said before, nothing beats a coffee break, a chat with the others, a chat with the clients, an idea of what the future needs might be. So I'm not so big on this remote thing, but I will be more involved, and I am interested in testing all of the mentioned programs. and getting some education on it. And someone mentioned that those companies offer free training, whatever. I definitely will sign up for it. I will have the time. We're still working here in Belgrade. We have some projects that are ongoing, but things are definitely, you know, going to shut down, as they are pretty much everywhere in the world. And I think this is a wonderful idea that you had. I really applaud you, because it will give us ideas on what to do on our market. And I think that there was a question saying, how do we contact the gentleman, Ian, I believe, how do we contact the clients? Well, I think you just look at your own clients, and they may not be using you now because they're stuck, they don't know what to do, but you can proactively get in touch with them and say, hey, do you guys know that we can organize something like that? Of course, I say that because we organize events, but an interpreter can get in touch with a company that they work with and perhaps suggest, you know, if they have the technical ability. And then I'm already thinking of several of the big clients, which, you know, going crazy over the things that are happening right now within their company, they're not thinking about the possibility that we can help them if they have some guy somewhere, you know, that may need interpretation. It's just something that we would need to work on. I don't know how we would set it up. I have to look into it. I haven't used it. That's that, but I look forward to it.
Thank you very much. I want to move to a next chapter of discussion. That is the new contract terms and changing role of the interpreter. With remote and during the lockdown, I mean, we've been receiving this remote job proposals or inquiries, and also the platforms, the ones I mentioned. You know, they have requirements like, they say your camera must be this, your computer must be that, you need power supply, you need this and that. But actually, you know, before all this, you know, we were just taking the bus and going to the event, entering to our booths, and we're just doing the job. I mean, now all of a sudden, you know, we are expected to deliver a lot more. Now the question is, and this is an open question, maybe our colleagues from the United States, or I see Katie Kaufman. I think you are from the States, Katie. And Americans are usually better with legal terms. You know, how are we going to manage all this, the new responsibility box of the interpreter? And please combine this with the requests on, and please unmute Katie. If you want to, I just see your face. And please combine this with requests. I'm sure we are all getting, well, this is only 45 minutes. You don't need to commute. Can you do this just, you know, for less? Instead of $500, can you do this for 4 or 3 or 2, depending on the market? Each market is different, but I think we are receiving two pressures: price and additional responsibilities. How are we going to manage all this? What do you think, Katie?
Hello, everyone, and thank you for giving me the floor. As some of you, I see some familiar faces in the group. I have a split professional address. So right now I have my professional address with AICAS in the United States. My other hat is in Santiago, Chile. So I have a grasp on both markets, both Latin America and what's going on in the US. I have been participating on different platforms. I've been providing services either to direct clients or to third-party clients for some time now on Kudo, VoiceBoxer, Interactio. I've really just gotten started providing services to some local clients over Zoom. There are challenges, especially with Zoom. Obviously, it is not a platform that was designed for conference interpreting. So things like handover and so forth are really still very much a challenge. They are on some of the other platforms as well, because most of those platforms were designed in keeping with best practices of having both interpreters sitting together. So even a major platform like Kudo is having trouble with that. And I'm now hearing the Portuguese interpreter, even though I have the interpretation off, which is always an interesting challenge. Okay, I've resolved that. So again, things happen, as you can see, live. Going to the question, price points and things like that. Having done this, it is true the cognitive load in remote is greater.
Yeah.
It's greater because you are not in the room. You're very often not seeing people. They don't know how to use their cameras. They don't want to use their cameras. You can't see people. They're not using good headsets. They're not using noise canceling microphones. So you're not hearing well. You're not getting good audio. You're not seeing well. And all of that increases the cognitive load. So what does that have to do with price? Everything. Okay, so sure, you don't have to travel downtown, you don't have to take the bus, you don't have to pay for parking, but there is an additional effort that you have to make to provide the same quality of work. So should we reduce our rates and our fees? Absolutely not. Should we raise them? That's a really good question. I think it's a valid point. There's some who will say in the US, of course, now there's this trend to charge by the hour. As a member of AIC, of course, I'm firmly opposed to that. I know that there are people who charge a half-day rate and a full-day rate. And I think it may very well be that some of our colleagues who've been staunch defenders of the full-day rate, even for a one-hour event, with the advent of remote, may see that moving down to a half-day rate. But I definitely would not go with per hour. So those two things. And on the equipment side, yes, there is a larger demand. We absolutely do need to have proper equipment to do the job right over these platforms. I think the worst thing that could happen to us as a profession is that people try the platforms and say the platforms don't work, remote interpreting doesn't work, we're never going to use it for anything because the interpreter was not properly prepared. The interpreter was unable to provide the service because the interpreter was unable or did not want to have the appropriate equipment, be in an appropriate space. I think there are lots of opportunities for remote to continue after this crisis is over. Probably not in the major conference world. As someone said, people like the coffee break. All the really important stuff happens on the sidelines. So I don't know how much of this I came into the conversation a little bit late, and I realize I've gone off on a bit of a rant and a run there, but I hope I've at least somewhat answered the question. And thank you for giving me the floor.
Well, thank you. That was awesome. Thank you very much for taking the floor. I can see Serkan Gülelçin. He owns one of the leading advertising and PR agencies in Turkey. Serkan, are you still with us? Do you want to give us the marketing people's perspective? What do you think? Are we going digital? Is it working? Serkan, but you need to speak in English because I know your English is intermediate, but don't be shy. If you are with us, Serkan. Is Serkan with us? Yeah, I can see him. Your mic is on, Serkan. Go ahead. But you have to be in English, channel English. Evet, kanalı İngilizceye getirmeniz lazım Serkan Bey. Eğer duyabiliyorsanız. Olmuyorsa sizi bir sonraki. If not, we can take you in our next conference. But if we can have you, it will be great because you have so many corporate clients and international clients, and I want to know what the marketing people think about remote. Until we have Serkan, I saw Gökçer, no, what I think he left from MapTour. Do we have anyone from Setur, VIP, or Blue Chip, or other conference organizers? What do you think, conference organizer people? Do you want to talk? I mean, I don't remember all the names from different companies, but we had one or two, I think. I think Merve is tired too. She's been doing an awesome job. If anyone wants to take over the Turkish channel, that would be awesome. Okay, none of the event organizers want to speak now. Okay, I will talk to you later this event. I see your videos are also off. Okay, you may prefer to remain you know, anonymous. I mean, I understand you have your corporate responsibilities. How about Esra Özkaya? Esra, you are also a professor in Istanbul University. You are a member and board member of Turkish Interpreters Association, and you are also an experienced interpreter, and you just tried Zoom. Can you give us the academic perspective combined with your professional experience and your lovely, always positive spirit? Give us some happiness.
Thank you so much. So first of all, hi everyone. You can hear me well. Well, that's the Zoom. I hear you and I have heard you, and it's a great pleasure, especially these days. We have been living on Zoom practically for the last few days, and it's actually feeling rather good. About the remote interpreting, I have been attending a number of webinars. Zoom is one of those. And last night, I started to simply do this thing with Kudo. I started to simply just do a bit of research, so to say. And they have their onboarding journey for the interpreters. So I'm just doing some reading about that. Well, yes, actually, we have been writing among ourselves. I just read that piece by Alexander Dressel. And yesterday I was on a webinar with Julia Poger, Know Your Words. She's a conference interpreter, and basically she's a lovely person. And we were there as a group of interpreters. Again, we have been going through the same stuff over and over again. I personally believe, as an interpreting researcher and a conference interpreter, it's here to stay, I think. Well, it came earlier than it was supposed to, or we were anticipating it to come. I wasn't actually, I didn't see that coming so fast. I don't think many of us actually did that too. So I think it's going to be with us. I'm not sort of the go-to expert about, remote interpreting, whatever we might want to use, but personally, right at the moment, I was also, James wrote that down. I think and while I was actually practicing, while I was interpreting it, I always would like to see someone who is there to help me, even if I don't need, I don't necessarily need to use the help. It's a great comfort and relief for me as an interpreter to have the technician available, or someone, even remotely, who could do that. James, was that you who said that we can always adjust the channel, even if you forgot, to whatever, mute you, unmute you? And actually, I was saying that to my fellow interpreters, my colleagues, the other day. Even in the physical booth, sometimes we get so caught up in the act, and that always happens to any one of us, right? We simply forget to simply turn on the microphone. They come, you laugh, and you feel shy, you feel embarrassed, so on and so forth. So hybrid might be the ones, in the previous webinar, we also talked about that. I think Kudo has that, right? The hybrid. There are hubs, they're there. And
yeah, Kudo is trying that, yeah, and I think it's a very good strategy. It is taking the responsibility away from the interpreter.
I was just going to say that there is this liability part. There is a plethora of things that we have to take into consideration. For example, the professional insurance. I'm not sure whether we have that concept, which is solid and sound in Turkey. I'm not even sure about that. I just put that. I put a pin on that, and I'm going to simply do a bit of research about that.
I did that once. It costed me $5,000.
See,
but they said they insured me over London because there wasn't enough pool of insured in Turkey. It was for an international agency contract. They wanted us to sign for, I think, $5 million or something, professional liability. It was a huge contract. Luckily, we earned money, but $5,000 is a lot. I own an agency. Okay, I could afford it, the good old days. But now, what is my agency worth? I am at home, like many of you. So I'm trying to create a new market.
Yeah, I think that's the same case for everyone. That's the good news and the bad news. Everyone feels more or less the same, be it in Portugal or Turkey or United States or any other part of the world. I think we have to always, I think we have to see the silver lining of it. So of course there's this liability issue. There's this technical part. I mean, yes, I'm a conference interpreter and I'm supposed to know these things. Yeah, I admit that, I accept that. But what happens if I just, as you said, it's all about the quality of the utilities in Turkey or in any other part of the world.
Yeah.
What if you don't have the UPS or, something happens and you don't have power, you don't have the backup generator, so on and so forth. So there's this liability issue. And then there's this technical assistance. And I think that requires the technical companies, teknik şirketler, as the term goes in Turkish, I think they have to shift themselves towards being sort of technology companies somehow. I don't know, it's easier said than done. The hub system, James just said that you do a lot of hybrid also. I feel much safer if we have that system, as at least in Turkey right now. I think, of course, when this pandemic or epidemic is over, I think it would be sort of a good first step of onboarding for us and for the community of the interpreters, so that we can have more experience with remote, and we will feel much more comfortable. And that also has a number of repercussions, because I'm also teaching at the university, at Istanbul University. These last few days or weeks have also set me to a lot of thinking. What are we teaching our students? Are we really giving them, equipping them with the 21st century skills about life in general and about interpreting, with a particular...
Yeah, I mean, your students, I mean, do you think you can train your students to this new reality? I mean,
yeah.
And you don't have the chance to interact with them face to face. I think you are using probably Zoom to give the classes, right, at the moment?
Well,
or maybe you are using Jitsi or...
No, at the moment, we are looking into a number of options. We actually, Kate and Ebru Hoca and some other colleagues from different countries and from different universities, we have been gathering rather, frequently these days. Barry, the other day, gave us a webinar on ZipDX, which is actually very promising. So we have a number of options. We are, again, we are going towards a hybrid option.
I tried ZipDX to...
Yeah, for teaching, it's actually rather good. But at the end of the day, it's about, how comfortable you feel with those options, and the budget, the finance as well, because, it's an educational institution at the end of the day, and not all of them are private universities. My universities, for example, it's a public university. So yeah, I know I have not answered to any of the questions, but then again, asking the questions, I think we have to start somewhere, and, just thinking together, brainstorming, that's one way to go. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. We have Çağrıhan Sonbahar. Çağrıhan is a MICE event organizer and executive. Çağrıhan, are you still with us, or you just muted and, dealing with kids? Do you want to give your thoughts as an event organizer? If you like, we can just, unmute your microphone. Çağrıhan Sonbahar. Çağrıhan, can you hear us? Okay, maybe not everybody is equally attentive, or maybe they are having microphone issues. And I mean, I didn't notify anyone. I didn't say, I mean, we just exchanged a quick email with James. Other than James, I'm just choosing randomly, seeing faces and say, okay, do you want to, give your perspective? And I'm trying to go from different countries and regions. Julio da Silva. Julio, do you want to give us the I believe Latin perspective, or maybe Spanish perspective? Can you unmute yourself, please? Julio, please unmute your microphone.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right, I think it's going through. All right, awesome to be speaking to everyone. It's the first time that I'm using Zoom as interpretation. It's pretty exciting. I am in South Africa, though, even though I'm a Brazilian interpreter. Yeah, I'm with my colleague who invited me, Jose Antonio. He's somewhere with his hand still raised there. For the first time, there's so many questions that we're trying to figure out and see what's happening. But yeah, it's awesome. I was just telling Vivian and another colleague that I just found here on the chat that here in South Africa, all the agencies are just flat dead. They do not know about Zoom. They do not know about none of these platforms. And therefore,
it's why I'm organizing these events. I'm just trying to give away to the rest of the world because I think that we all need to revive this industry, and I can't do this by hiding my knowledge to myself.
Thank you.
These are extraordinary. These are extraordinary circumstances. The world leadership does not exist. Big corporations are gone. Rich people are thinking about themselves. Sorry to sound too ideological. Apologies. But I mean, this is my leftist wing, flapping. And I think we the professionals, we need to do something, and we can do something. And we have wonderful people like James and Barry and Esra and Ebru and and Tamara and all others, and you. Sorry, I gave the floor and then I hijacked. I'm muting myself. Go ahead, please.
No, not a problem. It's awesome to hear you. But listen, if at a certain point in time we could, those of us that have not been on these types of platforms where we could come and just learn a little bit so we can share with the agency. As I said, all they can say is let's wait until this thing goes away. And we do know. I also filled out a survey today and they're asking the same thing. Once this is over, will you go out? Will you be with people in the same room? So everybody's receiving the same type of orientation sort of thing around the world. But we have to help the agencies for them to, well, our agencies here in South Africa, so they're aware that we can work and we can do something. About a week ago, I was in Fenton. It's our business hub here in Johannesburg. And I was about to do something like this, but they had all sorts of technicians and, you name it. They were going to try to put everybody together from Angola, Mozambique, and I was going to be interpreting there in a room when suddenly we could not do anything because people were grouped together in Angola and in Mozambique. And because of that, they had to, just send everybody home. But if they would have this knowledge of Zoom, everybody could be in their houses and the meeting could have gone ahead. So yeah, that's what I can say from my side. Thanks for giving me the platform.
Thank you. I see Didem Sone. Didem, Manam, are you from Koç Schools? Are you that person? Didem Sone. I think you are from
an. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. I think you're from an educational institution, right?
No, I'm a professional conference interpreter.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw someone from Koç Group, but I think the same name but different surname. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah. But now that you have the floor, what do you think?
Well, just like some of the other speakers, my experience with remote simultaneous interpretation has so far been limited. I've worked in meetings with WebEx, but I haven't used any of the other tools, including Zoom. And I've just started using Zoom after this coronavirus pandemic, after the pandemic. So I'm fairly new in this area and I'm open to learning. Therefore, I'd like to thank you for organizing these events, virtual events, which are bringing us together.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I was trying to force and pull event organizers, but some of them left, and the others, I think they don't want to speak. Maybe they will talk to their managers. Maybe they don't want to give away their secrets all of a sudden, which is understandable. Do we have Ebru Diriker? Ebru Hanım, do you want to give your perspective as as the former head of Boğaziçi University in Turkey and one of the most experienced and leading interpreters in Turkey. And now in Canada, I assume if you are still with us, Ebru, it would be awesome to have you, but I think she has left us. Okay, I mean, yeah, it's my bad. I took this too long. We have Duygu Çorum Duman. Duygu Hanım, I think you are also a scholar as well in, do you want to? Yeah, by the way, James writes his email. You know, anyone who wants to have a demo, he says, I think, just feel free to reach out. By the way, this video with the chats will be, I mean, I will be uploading it to YouTube. So you won't be missing any messages. I hope you didn't write anything embarrassing because it's going to be public. But if you did, tell me so that I can just do some screening on it. Yeah, I mean, just to sum up, well, it was wonderful to have all of you. It's almost 1.5 hours. We have several languages. How many? English, it says China, Turkish, Portuguese, Spanish. And I think we had 10 or 12 interpreters changing, maybe more, 15 in several booths. Yeah, I mean, it's a brave new world. And I think my take-home message is we have a virus to beat. And yes, we can. Yes, we can do it. We can beat it. Stay home, stay safe. If there are no further inquiries or last-minute notes, I will just end this session and I wish you again, I mean, safe and sound and happy. And also, please do exercises, okay? We don't want a corona body after this, you know. We need to stay fit and healthy and keep motivating each other. All right, if you want to take last-minute pictures of the screen, just turn on your videos, wave hands. If you don't know how to print screen, there is a print screen button on your computers. You can use it. You don't need to use your cameras, and you know, enjoy the rest of the day, the rest of the evening, wherever you live. I love you all. All the best. Bye-bye.